And I asked that question, and we were discussing it, and I turned to Angelo and said, well, isn't your management book a market leader?
Yeah.
Why don't we look there for some ideas, how you folks differentiated that from the other products in the market?
And that's a great place to start. So what we thought is, how can we take the features that we use in that book and build it into this OB book? And the first one is to write a student-centric product. And that is one that your students want to read. Now, we all know that today's students don't want to sit there and read a lot of straight, dry text. So we use a technique called chunking. The material is chunked up into smaller bite-sized segments so that today's students who like to read a little bit and stop and read a little bit and stop would do that. So we use this chunking. We also wanted to create visual appeal. Students, because of videos and digital products, they're used to visually appealing things, so it's designed and built around that. Another thing we did for student-centric is we wanted them to find something interesting that provided feedback, because today's students like feedback. So we have 58 assessments.
And we don't just plunk it in there and say, here, take an assessment, but instead we explain why it's relevant, how taking this assessment, how it can benefit them and improve their success, both professionally and personally. And then a second key feature is we present OB as a problem-solving tool. And this is really motivated by employers who say that problem-solving is one of the key characteristics that they want in their employee. And we make a real commitment to this. We introduce a problem-solving approach in Chapter 1. It's a 3-stop approach. Those 3 stops are define the problem, identify the causes of that problem, as well as some recommendations to solve the problem. All of this based on the OB concepts, knowledge, and tools that they learn in the chapter.
And those concepts and tools are built into what we call an integrative framework. So we introduce this integrative framework in Chapter 1, use it in all chapters, and the idea of the framework is to help the students to organize the theories and concepts in a chapter so they can solve problems related to that content.
Exactly. So, and it helps, the integrative framework also helps students. Students always ask, well, how does all this fit together? Or how are these things related? Well, again, the integrative framework helps them organize and see those relationships, then ultimately apply them. Which brings us to our third key feature, which is our book is absolutely applied and practical. Everybody talks about, hey, we're applied, we're practical, but indeed, we've approached it in a very different way to truly deliver on that promise. We have a number of features, from winning at work, feature that starts at the begins every chapter. It's a how-to. It gives very practical, applied suggestions on how to deal with bullies at work, how to manage a meeting, how to negotiate a job offer or a pay raise.
And these winning at works are all geared to the student. So they teach students about things that students can use. They're very valuable, and it's part of the student-centric approach too.
Absolutely. And also, we have problem-solving applications embedded throughout each and every chapter. In fact, we have 29 in the book, and they're what I would describe as mini cases. And they're real people, real companies, confronted with real problems. And it's not just an example, but we also then ask students to put themselves in the place of the person or the protagonist, or if they were a decision maker in that case, and apply the 3-stop approach. Define the problem in that mini case. What are the causes, recommendations?
In fact, I could see using those mini cases in the classroom as a way to generate discussion. So
Absolutely.
If you want to flip the classroom around, that would be a good tool to use.
Absolutely. And then similarly, we have example boxes. Every book in the market certainly uses examples, but we take a very different approach in the sense, one, we have 44 of them, we call them out, and again, similar to the problem-solving application in many cases, we ask students, what would they do? So it's not just an example that illustrates the concept, but then we ask students, what would they do if they were in the same situation? And again, like Angelo said, would be excellent for classroom discussion.
So to wrap this up, this product has 3 things that you can use and it'll help your students. 1, it's written for the student, it's student-centric. 2, it's applied and practical. And 3rd, problem-solving skills. I believe that if your students use this book, they will leave with enhanced skills that can help them in their personal and professional lives.